Ready to go?
No.
Good morning, YouTube. What's up, guys? I hope you're safe and healthy and happy and doing okay. We're in the car and it's raining. I'm here in Kate's neck of the woods to do some mile repeats today, and I'm doing it in a shoe that's not really meant for that. We ran out of a little bit of time this week to film, so we're gonna make this work. What shoe do you ask? Well, it's the Saucony Triumph.
Yeah.
Let's try that again. It's the Saucony Triumph 18. If you guys follow my channel, you know that I loved the Saucony Triumph 17. I'll link that video here or here. I think it's here. So I'm really hoping that this shoe is fire. It looks like fire. This colorway is kind of wild. But does it run as good as it looks? That's what we're going to find out. That's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to lace these up. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to get that shot since it's raining, but we're going to lace these up. We're going to go for a run, and then we're going to talk all about my experience in the Triumph 18. Let's go. Ugh. We made that work, kind of. Alright guys, I'm back from my run, and now it's time to talk all about the Saucony Triumph 18. Like I said earlier, if you've been following my channel for some time, you know that I was a really big fan of the 17, which I literally just fully reviewed on my channel a month ago, and now we already have the 18. But the 17 was one of my go-to, and still is one of my go-to daily trainers. For those days that I just want to do long mileage, it doesn't really matter what pace, this is a workhorse for that. So I was curious to see if they improved upon anything that I had issues with in the 17, which there weren't really a lot of. Before we get started today, I do want to let you know that this shoe was sent to me by Running Warehouse. However, they are not going to see this video before you. My opinions are unbiased, authentic, and all my own. So with that out of the way, let's start with the specs. The Saucony Triumph 17 is 9.7 ounces for a women's size 8, but for my size, 10.5 women's, the shoe comes in at 10.83 ounces, which means that we've gained a little bit of weight here. The 17 was 9.5 ounces for a women's size 8 and 10.65 ounces for my size 10.5. It's not a substantial weight gain, but it's a weight gain, and I don't love that. This shoe has an 8mm drop with 32.5mm of stack in the heel and 24.5 in the forefoot. And for me, the Triumph 18 is true to size. Saucony is using an engineered mesh upper with 3D printed overlays in the 18. It definitely has a little bit of a sleeker look than the 17 did. We have less going on in terms of layers of mesh. One of my issues with the 17 was that it wasn't really breathable, and during these hot summer months, oof, did I feel that. I'm happy to say that I think Saucony has improved upon the breathability in the 18. Certainly through that toe box, I did feel some airflow. But what puzzles me about the upper of the 18 is that it looks like they took the 17's upper that had all this unnecessary cushioning and padding, and they redistributed it here in the 18 in other places. For example, we're using those really soft, thick laces that we use in the Ride 13. I actually like these. I think they stay tied really nice, but They're even thicker than the 17's laces. And as you can see on the 17, we have all of this padding and cushioning here that's really honestly unnecessary. No one needs padding in the back of their heel here. So that's gone in the 18. But they added even more padding to an already extremely padded tongue. I'm not entirely sure why they would do this. The tongue on the 17 was perfectly fine. It was extremely cushioned as it was. It feels like they took all of the padding in the heel of the Triumph 17 and just threw it in the tongue of the 18. Regardless of those things that confuse me about the 18's upper, I do think it is really comfortable. No issues here with hot spots, blisters, any problems like that. And all things considered, the 18's upper is exactly what you want this kind of trainer's upper to be. It's not made for speed, it's made for luxury, and I think that comes across here. Moving on to the midsole of the Triumph 18, we have a full-length, beautiful PWRRUN Plus midsole. You guys know I love PWRRUN Plus, and it's no different in the Triumph 18. PWRRUN Plus feels extremely protected in both the Triumph 17 and in the Triumph 18. And I think the Triumph 18 has even more of it, so there's even more protection. However, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I kind of felt a little more bounce and spring in the 17. Don't get me wrong, the 18 still feels bouncy, it still has a little bit of spring, but especially on the toe off, I just didn't feel the same pushback that I do in the 17. As you guys know, I did some mile repeats in this shoe, and while I know that this shoe is not meant for that, I kept thinking how much easier it would have felt in the 17 because of that little extra pop. It is not easy filming mile repeats. It is certainly not easy in the Triumph 18. It just doesn't seem as lively. And that could be due to just having more foam in this midsole. Maybe PWRRUN Plus is one of those cases where less is more. Now, Saucony says that they've changed the geometry of the midsole for a little bit of a snappier ride. I don't know if I'm really seeing it. It could very well have just been me. That's why we do these first run impressions. But I did kind of feel like the ride of the Triumph 18 on the times that I took it out was a little bleh. Regardless of all that, PWRRUN Plus is extremely durable and extremely resilient. And that's a big deal and a huge plus when trying to find a daily trainer that's going to be able to go the long haul. So to sum it up, do I like the midsole of the Triumph 18? Yes. Do I like the Triumph 17's midsole better? Also yes. Moving on to the outsole of the Saucony Triumph 18, Saucony has gotten rid of the crystallized rubber on the outsole like they had in the 17, and they've thrown in blown rubber. Now, while I didn't necessarily have an issue with the crystallized rubber in the 17, I do think the blown rubber does improve durability. And we've also changed up the pattern of the flex grooves. We have 2 down the middle of the forefoot, which honestly doesn't hurt at all. Still, it's a pretty flexible outsole. One thought that I do have is maybe with the introduction of the blown rubber in the 18, it's affecting the ride of the shoe for me. Maybe that's why it doesn't feel as springy, because that blown rubber is firmer than the crystallized rubber on the 17. That being said, I do think it's an improvement. Is it a lot of rubber? Yes. But this isn't a Convara, this is a Triumph. And it's meant to last you for miles upon miles upon miles. I've done all kinds of runs in the 18, dry roads, and as you saw, wet roads. And I have to say, the traction does feel a little bit better, a little stronger in the 18 than it does in the 17. Does it add a little more weight to the shoe? Probably. The Saucony Triumph 18 is $149.95 on runningwarehouse.com, which is par for the course pretty much. I'll link it down below, so if you want, you can pick up your own pair. And the Saucony Triumph 17 is also on runningwarehouse.com for sale. I think it's like 120 bucks. I'm just gonna put it out there. I think that this shoe is hella good, and for 120 bucks, it is a literal steal. And these shoes are very similar, so do what you want with that information, but you know. I'll also link the 17 down below so you can pick up your own pair of those if you feel compelled. These are affiliate links, which doesn't really mean much for you. It just helps out my channel so I can compare these shoes, give you my final thoughts, and you can make your own decision. Despite me having some question marks about the Triumph 18, I am excited to put more miles in it. I do like the shoe. I'm just not sure if I'm really liking it more than the 17 at this point. But stay tuned for that full review. Well guys, that concludes my first run impressions of the Saucony Triumph 18. If you enjoyed this video, please like it down below and subscribe. And when you're done with all that, hit that notifications bell down below so you can find out every time I upload a new video. I think I like this colorway better. I have another video for you guys next week, but in the meantime, get out there, get on the grind, and don't forget to run like Heller. See you next time. You did it. 3 miles under 8 minutes.
Never thought I'd see the day.
Well, you saw it, sis. You saw it today.